The beauty of being seen. For years, I believed my value was written on my skin. At 22, I was a masterpiece of youth, long hair, a slender frame, and a face that turned heads in every crowded room. I married Paul because he was my visual equal. We were the golden couple, a pair of statues designed to be admired. But statues are cold. Paul's love was a fragile thing, dependent on my reflection remaining unchanged. After our wedding, his words became a chisel, chipping away at my confidence. "You're gaining weight," he'd say, or, "You look tired." I spent my youth chasing a ghost, trying to be the girl he married. When pregnancy softened my body, he withdrew completely. The birth of my daughter, Margot, should have been our greatest joy, but to Paul, it was simply the end of my perfection. The day I found him with a younger woman, he delivered the final blow: "You're just a pretty face, Regina. And now, you aren't even that." The gray years. After he left, the mirror became my enemy. I stopped looking at it. I was a single mother surviving on coffee and sheer will. My beauty faded under the weight of bills, sleepless nights, and the beautiful, exhausting chaos of raising Margot. I thought my heart had retired. Then came the night Margot's fever spiked. In the sterile, fluorescent light of the ER, I met Drive. Charles. I was a mess, hair tied back in a frantic knot, wearing an old sweater, eyes red from crying. "You're a remarkable mother," he told me as Margot stabilized. I didn't believe him. I felt invisible. A few weeks later, after a second visit for a minor stomach ache, he asked me for coffee. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Look at me, Charles," I said. "I'm not young. I'm not beautiful. I'm a woman with baggage." Charles didn't blink. "I don't see baggage," he said softly. "I see strength. I see a woman who fights for what she loves. That is the only kind of beauty that doesn't fade." The costume and the truth. On our first date, I tried to resurrect the old Regina. I wore heavy makeup and a dress that felt like a lie. Charles looked at me with a gentle sadness. "You're wearing a costume," he noted. "The woman I saw in the hospital, the one who was honest, raw, and fierce, that's the woman I wanted to have coffee with." It was the first time a man had ever asked me to take the mask off instead of putting it on. He shared his own scars, a previous marriage to a woman who was perfect on the outside but cold within. He wasn't looking for a trophy, he was looking for a partner. A new definition of love. It took time to heal. It took 6 months of Charles showing up, loving Margot, and seeing my gray hairs not as flaws, but as silver threads of a life well lived. We married on a quiet Tuesday. My mother, still stuck in the old ways, whispered that Charles wasn't handsome like Paul. I told her, Paul loved my face, and he left when it changed. Charles loves my soul. Souls don't wrinkle. Today, at 42, I am no longer the girl people stare at in the street. I am a woman with lines around her eyes from laughing and a heart that is finally at peace. The lesson: if you spend your life trying to be perfect, you will only attract people who love perfection. But if you dare to be real, to be tired, to be honest, to be yourself, you will find the person who loves you for the one thing that time cannot touch: your heart.